Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Thank you very much for being here. Hello, Z. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening for all those who catch this much later. Welcome. And we are continuing our discussion of dead and forgotten gods, a common fantasy trope in tabletop role playing games. And I thought it would be kind of interesting in this seat of the pants studio to kind of go through like human body systems and kind of use it as a framework for talking about exploring the inner workings, uh, figuratively and literally, inside of these dead Titanic beings. Uh, Visually, it just seems like an amazing thing to, I think, to see or to experience. But in fantasy role playing, of course, you get the idea of like these mountainous, um, colossal sized dead gods and deities, and using them as a backdrop for including all kinds of adventures, all kinds of encounters and monsters. And on this world building Wednesday, one of the rules I have for world building on these world building experiments is like, how would society be changed or altered if the thing we are talking about has taken over. We did a whole series on all of the 12 modern Dungeons and Dragons monster types, like beasts and aberrants and dragons and things. We've done this on all the character classes. Um, Man, I think we've done them on like spells and things like that. I think there's a possibility for. I think there's a lot to pull from, including this. And tomorrow is Third Pillar Thursday. I think we can go through the exploration part of it tomorrow. I think today would be kind of cool if we think of the 12 body systems as a basis for um, social interactions like guilds. Maybe this is the only way for the the beings, both non-human or non-sentient and sentient alike, to survive in these locations. So, for example, let me pick one randomly. Digestive system. So, human digestive system. We have to take in nutrients. We I'm going to use the word. Hopefully, YouTube won't hit me on this. We have to masticate our food, uh, drink it, and grind it down, and then we take the food into our digestive system, and it's broken up into its component parts. And in some ways, that kind of, I'm thinking about it, kind of reminds me of like trade services, like goods are from distant lands come in, and then it has to be broken down into component parts. And there may be, I could see a guild that runs like various types of oozes or something, or maybe even mechanical beings that break down various types of things that are needed to keep the godling alive. Now, these could be internal parts of the godling, right? Like they're not alien; they're actually inside, and it could be that the player characters, to get from one place to another, might need to either bring something in that helps, um, that's nutritional, whatever that might be, for the god, or it could be that they need to bring some trade goods in or something. I mean, using one as an example for the other. The King says, some people think gods must embody their domain entirely, but then in some religions, gods just pulled their domain out of a hat. That could affect our adventure. Also, godly domains kind of don't follow the fantasy domain thing. Like, yeah, or King says, or possibly affect our adventure. In in fantasy gaming, we think of gods and domains because of its mechanical effect, like um, god of death, god of fire, or something. But a lot of y- you know fantastical mythological gods tended to have far more impact in regular life. So you have a god of like travel and hearth and maybe war, right? Or you'd have a god of luck, rain, and rats or something like that. Like they would have not quite related, but it wouldn't be fantasy mechanical. It would kind of be like, oh, they're the god of I don't know, love and beauty, and then they'd have like this other thing, right? And you're just like, where'd that come from? Dead Man says, look at Borderlands 3 DLC 2, Guns, Love, and Tentacles. The last mission in the campaign is set inside a dead Vault monster, which is practically a god. Yeah, it was a giant monster covered in tentacles. I didn't God of War do that as well? If I'm not mistaken, I think it, it's either that or like Atlas is carrying the world in his back, and you have to like go into find Atlas and then go into the world that he's carrying, and then there's like an adventure inside. I think so. Not exactly the same thing, but close to it. And we've seen lots of stories about people being swallowed by monsters and having to I mean, even Star Wars did it, right? Um, Not quite exploring the insides of a thing, but like I said, I believe a movie from the '60s did it. Uh, Fantastic Voyage, and there it is, 1966. Yeah, for its time, it had some pretty incredible. It had some um, pretty incredible special effects. Fantastic Voyage is 1966 American science fiction adventure film directed by Richard Fleischer and written by Harry Kleiner, based on a story by Otto Clement and Jeremy Bixby. The film is about a submarine crew who is shrunk to microscopic size and venture into the body of an injured scientist to repair damage to his brain. Kleiner abandoned all but the concept of miniaturization and added a Cold War element because there was a spy involved in it. The United States and the Soviet Union both developed technology that can miniaturize matter by shrinking individual atoms, but only for 1 hour. And there you go with the time limit. Scientists has figured out how to make the process work indefinitely with the help of American intelligence agents. He escapes to the West and arrives in New York City, but an attempted assassination leaves him comatose with a blood clot in his brain that no surgery can remove from the outside. And then they have to go inside. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Mm-mm-mm. The Ant King says, imagine that as you go inside and harvest this creature, that starts bringing out whatever emotion or concept they ruled over. Imagine depression existing again in this world. Yeah. Yeah. After 2,000 years, because you started drilling into this guy's heart and bones. Now, I love the idea of like the physical manifestation of the emotional or maybe whatever caused it to pass out or become comatose, or like you say, you go if you go into the brain, you start uncovering like the physical manifestation of emotions and such. That's kind of cool, you know. Very, I mean, there's a chicken and egg thing here too, where if you have, if the plot is to raise a dead god and then make it your and build it in your own image, that's a very evil plot, right? Like, hey, I'm a arrogant badass and I'm going to do this thing, and the PCs may have to go in. And that's where I'm thinking of these 12 systems. Each one has to work in concert, like homeostasis, but each one uh, helps him with the other one. And if you have a bad guy that's kind of like integrated into the system, and the players need to go in and remove it like a virus, and the bad guys are, for whatever plot is going on, they may be so entrenched that the PCs need to navigate through uh, these well balanced social constructs, which would be the god's biological body. And I'm thinking a good mix would be of of non-human, automated systems. Like, for example, the immune system is just like, white blood cells and oozes and things like that, and maybe other creatures, spider-like creatures or whatever, running around the system trying to keep things in check, at the same time as having sentient beings, maybe manipulate, modify, control, or whatever, or monitor these systems. And like the here circulatory system is a way to get around the body, and there are like agents out there going like, what's in the circulatory system, where are these blood like rivers or whatever, and trying to stop the try to stop the uh anything that's like invasive. Uh, I don't think you would want to make it too omnipotent, where no matter where the players go, they're found. But that also might be a balance for the player characters. Like, hey, listen, you can you have free range to do what you want, but the more damage you do, or the more you disrupt everything, the greater the dangers uh, come. And you could even make this mechanical. Like, you could have a die on the table or something, and every time they like mess up or screw up or start damaging uh, the body parts or whatever, you take that D6 and you turn it to a number two, and they're like, what? And then every time they start making rolls, it's like you keep adding another number to the benefits of like the immune system, the nervous system, or something, and making all the die rolls harder and harder as more systems get learn who the player characters are, which would that might be pretty interesting. Like with the immune system, um, the, when the after so many times of the pyromancer burning things, they start getting like fire immunity, fire resistance, and then fire immunity, maybe growing some kind of immunity to what the player characters can do. That player character that's been dominating with their psychic abilities, you know, what responds is immune to it. But again, one trying to think of one system that on the surface doesn't seem uh, descriptive wise, doesn't seem like something. Like, for example, the endocrine system is the adrenal system, and that may be something that can show up that boosts other systems if the player characters damage too much to allow the other systems to overclock. They get overboosted. So maybe the muscular systems are all like big thuggish ogre kind of things. You get the endocrine system in there, and they just pump up their armor class and hit points and whatnot. Give them a couple of extra attacks around, and it's like, oh damn it, we got to calm them down. And then maybe using some kind of key. So I like the idea that each of these systems could be. They each need something, but they also have a weakness, and the players could exploit that. And in the beginning, maybe the player characters don't even realize it, especially if this godling is so big that you don't even the players don't even know, or it doesn't look human. It just look like a big volcanic mountain on this strangely materialed island that spreads out like a web of flesh or something. Deadman says Shadow of the Colossus was a game about fighting on the surface of multiple giant stone colossuses. Is that what game system is that? But yeah, I like the idea of that. Like, big giant stone colossus. Never said this had to be human flesh, right? It could be a. Oh, and oh there's an Beckme adventure, World Breaker, Stone Breaker, something like that. And on the cover of it, on the cover, it's a giant mechanical um, mountain-sized like golem stomping across the world. Deadman says, or there's Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, where the main villain, Dogoth Ur, is working on building a body for a dead god named Lorcan. building a dead body. Ooh, like building a body for a dead god could be a thing. Bringing its soul back, it could be mechanical. Now, mechanically speaking, while it these body systems they can work. You would just have to recontextualize them quite a bit. But you know, the making gnomes or a gnome, I don't know, a war band or something, your bad guys, and or dwarven, enclave or something, building a a mechanical god and going out and trying to find its crystalline soul and put it inside of that. That'd be kind of cool as well. And then adventuring from the ankle all the way up to the brain, which would make level design pretty cool. Yeah, the King kind of thinks it's kind of playing in the same way that I'm thinking of. Like, yeah, that's fun. Physically building a god like a weird twisted version of Frankenstein, or assembling it from other things. Like, we just killed our second Tarrasque. That's the second thigh, or something. I don't know. Playing God and introducing God to a society for the first time, piloting it like a mech. The NK says continues to says it doesn't have to be human flesh. Yep, it also doesn't have to be a literal body. Picture a dwarven god that's a stone labyrinth. A ruby is its heart, a crown is its mind. Yeah, exactly. Like maybe that's just it's not a physical walking talking thing, but a landscape, and that's how it operates. Like uh this could very easily be um, twisted into like an underdark, underland, underworld type of thing where the nervous system is a way to send signals from one place, or even communication from one place to another. The skeletal system keeps the caves open and structured. The reproductive system uh, produces many of these monsters, like gelatinous cubes and other Gygaxian creatures that keep the place. What is Atiogs come to mind as well, that keep the place running. Maybe dungeons aren't too far away from the 12 body systems now that we think about it. TA says, like the two wizards that were basically giant towers in one of the Michael Moorcock stories that involved Elric of Melnibone? Melnibone. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's all made up words anyway, right? But yeah. Um, mm, mm, mm. And and King, I think we're probably and Zamar's probably on the same page too. Like where you say, I eh, I love storybook logic like that. Yeah, Peter Pan's heart being a thimble that he just found, sewing his shadow to his foot. If dealing with gods, I feel like we can indulge in that. Yeah, and the how do you call this? The metaphor made real is very much a storybook logic, which it has rules, but they're not rules that of the physical world of of physics and math and that kind of thing. It's more story and emotional, and that would be kind of interesting as well. Like for example, well, hey Wayne, you say it's Melnibone, but who knows how that's pronounced, unless you speak to the writer, and even the writer is just like, have you ever heard Ari Salvatore like pronounce the names of his own characters? It's horrible, horrible. uh, Everyone puts the incorrect emphasis on an improper syllable. um, but I do agree that like the idea that here's something that might be interesting as well. What if a god had died, but there is no physical body? Instead, the 12 body system becomes an overlay over society, and people just naturally start falling into these categories because that's how the gods came about. It could be, but then we get into these like we get into the well actualisms. Yeah, yeah, but how do you know that? let, let, us not deep dive into that into pronunciations. We already did this. No one is right except for you have nothing to compare it against except for the writer. If the writer says it, that's it. Everybody else is wrong. Uh, Even if they're right, they're wrong. Uh, so the another way, exactly. None of us have. Every yeah, George R. R. Martin has his own characters, and people have asked him about pronouncing names, and he's like, I don't care. No, every person's language, region. Oh man, I want to do a video with oh, there's a gentleman. It's a couple years old, couple of 3 or 4 years old now. Um, but it was an hour series on Wired where a gentleman is a language expert and he does all of the regional uh, accents of North America, uh, up into Canada, down in the States, and goes from the East Coast all the way to West Coast, all the areas. And yeah, you get some words in there. Pocket cod, Boston Yard. It's just a whole thing, man. It's just like, what? And it's awesome because you find out that, yeah, there is no right way of doing things except regionally. I love deities, demigods too. You have that one? Oh man, I hear you, N King. Wayne says I have the deities and demigods with the stats for Elric, uh, Yorkuk, the swords, etc. Oh, and what's the other part? The Cthulhu mythos, which strangely enough, even though it is in oh public, it's wow, my brain just stopped on it. Anyway, it's in a public forum now. At the time, it wasn't, and uh, uh, TSR was sued for using the Michael Moorcock stuff and the uh, excuse me, the Lovecraftian stuff. If that book is rare, and it even after they corrected so they reprinted it, removing the material, but there's mistakes in the printing of it because they give credit to Lovecraft and Moorcock in the it remained in there after they removed the stuff out, and then they had to reprint it again by removing that part of it. It was a whole big thing. I think it's probably one of their first like external lawsuits that was a real big deal. But and a friend of mine had that book and lost it and stuff. Never thought it would be worth money till afterwards. Um, King says, I assume that the gods' exoratory system became art critics or guys who race on public streets. uh yeah, human excrement. Yeah. Yes. Oh man. Uh oh, what's there there's a movie called uh The Chef? That's the restaurant, something like that. Anyway, it's like a horror thriller movie. It's pretty hilarious. You have to see it. You have to see it. It very much embraces that. It's very good. Mm-mm. Ta says not like H.R. Geiger, who actually was quoted as saying Geiger as Geiger as in eager. Oh, not Geiger as in the counter. Geiger's alien introduction was the guy claiming he said that. See, there you go, right? It isn't a thing until a thing. Geiger. Okay, always sound like a Geiger counter. I always thought that's how it was pronounced, but whatever. Um, yeah, he said you're not going to hear Michael Moorcock say that. Say that he won and we lost. He's only 4/10 correct. Yeah, a thing becomes a thing even if you're the creator of the thing. It can get out of it can get out of hand. Like anyone who's ever listened to Sweet Caroline, it's like that's not in the song. Bum 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 is not in the song, but everybody puts it in there, so now it exists. Yeah, Wayne says I believe they had permissions, but we're were given them not knowing they had already been given to another company. Yeah, yeah, I believe that was the case. That one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing, and then they had to remove it and stuff. Yeah, like how the demons were pulled due to pressure from churches, showing an early example of how you should never apologize as they take it as weakness. Since removing the demons did not appease the haters in the church, they just doubled down and kept trying to crucify TSR and Gary. Yeah, they sure did. The satanic panic. Yeah, that was an era. So um, one other way I think of looking at like this concept of the dead god and whatnot could be that it's on the outskirts of a place, and if you wanted to start this at like lower levels, maybe some of this is starting to creep into pretty basic modern society, and then the player characters must travel from A to B, and B is the, the dead god's body, but little bits and pieces are both physically and emotionally are starting to creep into society. Of course, you have the classic village is being attacked by things from the outside, and that could be anything from lakes full of blood to creatures that are the immune system or something coming into a region. There could be emotional events so that people start acting in strange and different ways. Maybe there are being affected by the domain of the god or the emotions, or maybe some things, instead of being amplified, they start being neutralized. So I'm trying to think. People start having apathy. They no longer can cry, or they start losing their memories, or something like that, being assembled by people being captured because they're going to be, or even um, humanity is being scooped up and brought to this dead god so that it can replace what internally used to be there. Hey, you people are going to act as the brain, and all of you and your experiences or things like that. The Ant King says this could easily turn creepy. Imagine a moon that drifts around the planet is this dead god skull, and its eyes have been watching you this whole time. Yeah, that's where the idea kind of came into my head from the Guardians of the Galaxy, where they live in a place called Nowhere, and it's literally the skull of a celestial, and it's very mechanical, right? It's like technologically speaking, and they were mining, I don't know, it's brain goo or something like that. Uh, yeah, maybe the brain goo of a dead guy could be sold on the open market like a drug or whatever. And you guys, I think it was Zamara. I want to try to give credit where credit's due. Was mentioning that this could be uh, maximum consumerism, including the sale of our own bodies, and this could be a representation of that, and a way to take advantage of it. I mean, if we go more humanoid, maybe the reproductive system is like is a is like a sexual drug on the market. The digestive system can just has the acid pits of the dead god are a place where anything can be destroyed. The skeletal system is stronger than adamantine, and is literally something you can grow, or um, chunks of the bone are used as like a wizard's tower, and the wizard is just like, everyone's like, where'd you get that strange rounded undulating tower or something? And the wizard's like, I'm not gonna tell. um Anything like that. Yeah, kind of cool. Think we could do a lot with it. Tom Sanders says that actually sounds like a good fantasy setting from modern life, where a corporation or government could be a conglomeration of people forming the brain of that god, unable to see this. Ooh, they they don't. Hmm. A society that doesn't realize they're making, or resurrecting, or creating a god in their own image. I mean, in a way, to make this a more modern thing, I think that's the fear of AI. That people are afraid of AI not because of its capabilities, but because of us. Because what if all of us have our own personal AI, and w- people are pretty disgusting now. Um, Maximizing the output of some people's uh, uh, I don't know, behaviors. We've seen TikTok videos where we're just like, why? And do we need to see that writ 10,000 times? We don't. Yeah, whatever you do, don't look at the wizard tower in the Southlands. It'll drive you crazy. Mm-mm. Dub B says exposure to the brain glue must certainly have some side effects like slowly being driven insane, or the dead god's brain absorbs your life forces over time. Hell yeah. Or I mean, could it be parasitic? Um, Forcing someone to become more like whatever this dead god used to be? Or maybe it's like a it's the proverbial, like, it'll make you feel good, right? It's like it's the drug that it's worse than anything we've ever seen, because maybe you actually get some kind of really good benefit from it. um that would be pretty nasty, right? Like, hey, it's an addictive drug that makes you turns a zero level human into the strength of an ogre and the mind of a naga or something like that. And they're like, I don't see what the downside to this is, until the downside is lethal, right? Like, yeah, maybe people having no fears, or um, being enhanced and modified by access to this godling or something. Heck, it, I could even see. Uh, I could even see rival nations forming armies because one particular nation or faction has access to these resources. Others will want to claim it. We're going back to our salt and wounds thing, where different factions may surround the body of this dead god, especially if it's on land, like in a continent or something like that, and different ones try to obtain different particular locations. Um, Again, going back to the 12 systems, hey, which one nation dominates the urinary tract while the other nation dominates the circulatory system or something like that. Very, again, very Dune like in many ways, a guild that specializes in a thing or harnessing a thing. When he's like, yeah, you're describing the methods I live with. What if this brain is where elder brains and mind flayers come from? The god's anger at being poked and prodded even after death. It imagines punishment that comes to pass. Ooh, mind flayers are its punishment to everybody else. Um, Lots of aberrant styled creatures out there, reskinned, retextualized, or something. Hell yeah, hell, like, um, what a great origin for, I don't know, monstrous entities and things, right? Like, I mean, mind flayers, illithids are like very, very iconic for Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, they are synonymous with Dungeons and Dragons and Lovecraft. I think they need more. I think they like, even though I know in normal Dungeons and Dragons lore, beholders and intellect devourers and such aren't closely related, but I would definitely have them um, linked in some kind of way. Like, maybe, what's a low level monster? Like sturges could be something like globules or something floating through the air, trying, sticking people to get their blood. I could see there being, what's another one, like, thinking of like a shadow, or heck, even oozes could walk around if you want to make them humanoid, and they could be like these weird translucent soldiers that are under the command of these mind flayer like creatures or something. Yeah, yeah. Even, you know, rip the human head off a naga and put like some kind of brain matter, give it some tentacles or something like that, and a leave it its serpentine styled body. Yeah, listen, I live in Ohio Valley. Listen, um, meth is our it's like our it's one of our like second highest exports or something here. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad here. Um, we have communities that just give out free Narcan, just hopefully that you have it. To, and friend of our family just saved somebody's life with a double dose of Narcan. Um, she was in rehab, and yep, yep. Thomas Anderson says the kids in the creepy pasta, the game of the seven doors, could be a concept for those that are the players made aware due to the game, and now they have to solve the problem and break people free. Ooh, break people free from the control. Yeah, I mean, like you guys were saying, this could be pretty dark and creepy. Definitely a session zero. You got to talk about that X carding, that kind of stuff, because some people might it could easily trigger certain types of players just because of having such close association with this kind of problem. Yeah, I can see several horrible monsters and fiends that are the wrath of a violated divine corpse. Hell yeah. A little bit of reskinning and you're done, man. This would be pretty incredible and horrible as well. Classic dragons. Back in the day, dragons were the embodiment of like greed and sloth and vengeance. You know, I don't know, remove the skull of a dragon, get rid of the skull, get rid of the scales, and give it like bat wings, tentacles instead of claws and a tail, an orifice for where its face should be, spitting out acids and things. I love it. Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. Yeah, the End King says, imagine a Balrog looking down on you because it would never in a million years do to a god what you humans have done. Yeah, the fiends from the outer planes are like, oh my god, like, what are the humans doing? They become the good guys, or maybe they move in, and the Celestials are like, we need your help because we are few and far between, and the fiends are like taking over the dead god's body. The fiends are like, yeah, hells yeah, we get to control it, or the fiends finally were successful in taking down a god of law and or goodness or something, and now the player characters are like, oh shoot, they actually won. And could you imagine starting a game out where the player characters looked at horizon and they see like a humanoid like god or something like that standing, the clouds around its chest level or something, and it literally falls to the ground, and it's like, yep, start of the adventure. And then, a couple days later they feel the impact as dust and sand and everything sweeps through the region and stuff. It's like a post-apocalypse, and the PCs are literally living in it after the god has fallen to the ground. Let's see if I can understand with it. I'm terrible with acronyms. Back in the day, it was try as having wings and a snouty. Oh, mm, 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 mm. I don't know the acronym. It's on the tip of my tongue. As having wings and a snout, he blew smoke from. There's your dragon. I wonder if you could incorporate the sunglasses from They Live sort of concept too, for seeing those whom are at the top, like priests of this dead entity in that corporation, and actively trying to resurrect that dead god through their corporation too. Hmm. Only the player, like, like for those who don't know, very classic B movie, They Live. Um, our main characters end up getting a pair of sunglasses that allow them to see aliens that have invaded our world, and the aliens have infiltrated all of our of corporate and media, and they are controlling us. And of course, it was a an allegory for corporations and the media and capitalism and things like that. But the aliens have basically controlled us. By dominating those things and keeping us pacified. And I think something could be done like that, fantasy or even modern day, right? Where maybe the players are just they could be endowed with this, maybe some kind of soothsayer or something. The classic PCs are drinking in a tavern, and the old sage comes in, or soothsayer speaking, you know, speaking madness and touches the player characters, giving them the skill or the ability to see what's really happening. And of course, the person dies off. PCs can see what the hell's going on. Everybody else thinks the PCs are crazy. And they're like, you mean the god of so and so died? How did that? What? What? Yeah, TA goes on to say, could just be something they visualize while playing the game, though, that allow them to see deeper into who is who while playing the kids' game of the Seven Doors. I don't know the Seven Doors. There are tons of advertisements too that you can see the true meaning behind, like them eat and obey and sleep, etc., behind a complex like toothpaste commercial. There was a horrible movie, but the visuals were pretty good about like consumerism. Someone could see like these weird floating things that were feeding on people's brains while they were consuming like cheeseburgers and milkshakes and things like that. And yeah, that's actually kind of cool. The whole shadows and sturges that touch people and hurt them could actually be drawing from them like a like um, the physical act of drawing faith from worshipers could be monsters that are drawing things from people that they do, and they can't see it. That would be interesting too, where the player characters, because they see it, they can be physically attacked by it, but normal people in society who can't see it are not physically affected, or at least they're not physically affected in the traditional sense. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Um, Taking it down, the dwarven enclave must be convinced or forced to stop mining because the mountain they live in is a dead god and is causing earthquakes, floods, etc. The political conflicts in that, yeah. Mm-mm. I don't know. I am I am confused. I am very confused by that. I'm not getting the connection. I don't know why. It happens when you're live because I'm also thinking of other things too. Yeah, I could see a dwarven enclave being maybe they're forced to stop mining, or if the mountain comes alive and starts to stand up, maybe the dwarves went a little too far, right? But yeah. Oh, okay, okay. Uh, you're fine. You're fine there, Wayne. You are quite all right. I was thinking of Yahweh, but I'm probably mistaken. Mm-mm-mm. The End Kings. I feel like we're slowly turning this into a piss take about social media. Yeah, is this the urinate aspect of this dead guy? Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. Like, uh-oh. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking of Yahweh myself about the spelling. Yep. 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 Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Listen, role playing games are a good way for us to like, especially like speculative science fiction does this a lot, where it gives you the opportunity to turn the mirror inside and look inside, and the um, very few people. We're all the heroes of our own story, but the second line of of we are the hero of our own story is that we're the villain of everybody else's. And lots of people don't like to show the mirror on themselves. That's why we have a like in my opinion, we have a gun problem in the United States because everybody thinks they're the hero and everybody thinks everybody else is the villain. And no one looks at themselves and it's like, oh, those other people have mental problems. I don't have an issue, but we're all on the every single moment of every single day we're on the spectrum, and we're all the Joker, right? We're all it takes is just a confluence of a number of events, and we could all be broken. And no one likes to think that. Now, TA says a creative society just put out a video about how our plastic and oils have caused the ocean to be insulated, so it's causing heat inside the earth to get trapped, causing the death of the oceans and earth. Um, we're humans are pretty good at destroying things. We're not while we're experts at building, we often don't we destroy more than build. So yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Wayne's like, yeah, nope, you're not mistaking Yahweh without the vowels. Okay, that's what I went there, but I was like, am I misinterpreting this? I don't know. Yeah. Uh then King, God just died. Now we can build Twitter and yell at each other. Now that would be okay. Okay, I listen. I know your sarcasm has a twinge of, and that's the problem with comedy is that there's truth in it. Could you could you imagine a fantasy realm where the one of the balance of the gods is gone, one of the gods has died, the PCs have to go change it, fix this problem, rebirthing, bring it this godling back to life, and because of that, all all of the worst things we can think of, the volume just gets turned all the way up. Like fantasy, social media and flame wars start. Fantasy, the worst of I don't know, pyramid scheming, capitalism happens. The worst. I mean, is it a little on the nose? Sure, but could this be a thing? Yeah. It's like I'd rather fight a dragon than have to fight, I don't know, someone sending dick pics of me over across crystal balls and the community's taking a look at it and all. You know what I mean? Like pretty what is it? Like what's a big scam now? There's like people doing sexploitation against kids because kids are sexting each other and then um people are capturing that information and then using it as a way to exploit money out of young people because or for fear that they're going to take those pictures and spread them on social media. Um, my wife works from home in fraud, and though she deals with that kind of stuff, and yeah, there's all kinds of that would be pretty interesting. Like, we'll put an illusion up on walls everywhere for people to see. No, that's embarrassing. Someone might see my ankles. We'll show your ankles to everyone. Their concept about the ocean being ruined, though, is the process of killing off a god or goddess, such as Earth or Gaia, that will lead to all life dying on Earth. Yeah, why not? Maybe uh, there is a book series, The Incarnations of Immortality, where different incarnations are the embodiment of like death, life, time, war. And when that embodiment goes away, it doesn't allow that thing to happen. So if the god of death dies, people can't die, but they are put in situations where maybe they should have died. In the book series, the god of death is replaced by somebody else, and in the interim, a plane like people who normally should be dying aren't. Plane goes down, and the people in the plane are still alive, despite the fact that they are crushed and burning. I think this was even done on oh television show Harkness. There was a dude. I can't remember. Oh, but there was a thing going around where human beings couldn't die, and the governments were rounding people up that should have died and throwing them into incinerators, even though they knew that even incinerating the body, they wouldn't be dead; they would just be gone. Hospitals were being filled with people who were like, "But my loved one is still alive." Um, there was a sad scene where their loved one kept having a heart attack over and over and over again. Uh, it was pretty bad. And I can't remember the television show. I know you guys know it. Wayne says, fun fact on the plastics thing. Every child born in the US within the past 4 years, yes, has microscopic plastics, yep, within its body. We have no idea of the medical effects as they age yet. Yeah. Heck, what's the company? DuPont. DuPont's been or had been releasing fluorocarbons into the atmosphere that it have basically in those fluorocarbons are inside of us as we speak, and it can't break down. Yep. Um, Yeah, it's crazy. Would be interesting if the death of the god was caused by a fight with another god that is causing havoc now because the dead god is not fighting back. Yep, and their goal is to show the god is dead, so we'll stop fighting the dead course because it is harming the people and living on the dead god's body. Okay, I wonder, I wonder how much players would be willing to live in a world where the literal gods are still fighting each other. Like if you were you're sitting at home, you look out on a wide landscape, there's nothing there. You see mountains and plains and clouds, and then standing over the mountains are gods moving seemingly in slow motion, like doing battle with each other, throwing punches that take 10 minutes to hit. But then when boom, it hits, and you see one of the gods is like punched in the jaw or stabbed in the gut, and then like blood sprays out and the clouds turn red, and the god one of the guys lands on their knee as they're driven down to the ground, and then the earth shakes and stuff. I think that would be awesome. Now, when I say players existing in a world like that, would their first inclination be, "Oh, I guess we're supposed to fight it," or in a session zero, could you convince your players, like, "Yeah, you it doesn't matter what level you get to, you really can't fight them. You just have to live in a world where these things are happening." I don't know. I don't know. He's like, DA's like, dude, you killed death, so you're sentenced for this crime as you have to take up the job of death. Yeah, yeah. In the book series, the main character actually becomes death and has to take over. He's got to collect souls, and he's got the scythe, and it's got like a limousine, and it's a whole big thing. And he's just like, I don't want to be death, and death is like, I'm tired. I gotta go. I can't do this anymore. Yes, Tease is written by the same guy that wrote the Xanth series. Yeah, yeah, I believe so. Incarnations. Let's see if we can find this. Incarnations uh, of Immortality. Piers Anthony is the name of the 8-book fantasy series by Piers Anthony. The books each focus on one of 8 supernatural offices: death, time, fate, war, nature, evil, good, and night, in a fictional reality and history parallel to ours, with the exception that society has advanced to both magic and modern technology. The series covers the adventures and struggles of a group of humans called incarnations who hold these supernatural positions for a certain time. And um, the title alludes to William Wordsmith's 1804 poem Ode, uh, Intimations of Immortality. So the name of the books are On a Pale Horse, Being an Hourglass, With a Tangled Skein, Wielding a Red Sword, Being a Green Mother, For Love of Evil, End Eternity, and Under a Velvet Cloak. And for some reason, I remember him or a foreword or afterward talking about how he wrote the first book and it was like about a child death or something. Oh, there's a family tree for the characters and such too. Very interesting. Hmm. 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 Okay. All right. Let's see. The Yankee says, "What if death contains more than just people dying? What if death is how we put the past behind us and how we put away childish things, so to speak? So the god of death dying, that could be really bad for society." Ooh. So you mean like the death of ideas that are holding us back, maybe? And if the god of death doesn't die, we can't put away like grief or petty grievances or uh, rivalries or wow. Yes, yeah, yeah. He says seems to recall that the one about death was riding a pale horse, but he was driving around in a pale hearse. And what was it? Piers Anthony was very known for double entendres, uh, twists twists of words and phrases on the titles of books and things like that. If I'm not mistaken. Yep. Death Takes a Holiday was an old movie from the 30s, rom com of its day. There it is. Thank you, Dead Man. Torchwood. Torchwood. The final season was called Miracle Day. Yeah, that's it. Yep. And Wayne put, of course, answers Piers Anthony long before I did. Yep. Wow. Thomas Anderson says, actually, he was going, yes, the main character was going to commit suicide, and thus he was able to see death when death showed up, scared him, causing him to turn the gun on death, killing him. The reason death was there too was because his soul was in balance of good and evil, so he had to work from purgatory. Yes, as death working on stacking deeds on the soul, either taking him to hell or heaven. Yep, yep. And that was his. Yes, that's right. With that series, that's right. Mm-mm-mm. All right. Both Christian and Jewish God exist in that world too, but the Christian one has gotten too busy looking at itself and was an actual human inhabiting the role too. Yeah, and there was a air quotes competition in the fantasy series where the devil was in competition against God about how many souls they can convert over, something like that. And it keeps exactly what I'm saying. We can't kill our own egos or anything else. Yes, putting away old grievances, the same thoughts and processes keep going over and over in our heads because the god of death is dead. And you know, sometimes it's good for us to remove, even if we don't forget, to remove our old self to become new. There's a philosophical thought process that says that every time we go to sleep, we wake up as someone new, and our old self, we are literally being reborn, and our old self dies. Um, and genetically, that's actually true as well because we keep getting our cells replaced. So, um, like, what's the philosophical thought of the sailing ship that if you remove a board and add a you remove a board and add a new board and then use the old boards to build the old ship. How when is the old one old and the new one new, or the new one old and the old one new? As our cells keep getting replaced and our brain cells keep getting replaced, we get new ideas. Like, are we slowly dying and being reborn over and over again? That's a kind of a philosophical thought there. People still don't know, like, what happens with our brains and things like that. Yeah, the devil was also an old Benedictine monk that took over hell to try and fix what was wrong with God. That, yeah, in the book series, yes, that's exactly it. And Deadman brings up the ship of Theseus. Yes, the ship of Theseus. As you start to, and maybe death allows the ship of Theseus. Um, the ship of Theseus is a natural progression in life itself. New comes about from the old, even though the same thing is still there. And with death, you can't overcome. That would be in wow. Maybe player characters kill monsters. Monsters can't be killed permanently. they have to adventure knowing that along the way they're going to leave dead bodies that keep coming after them, making it tougher and tougher for them to move forward. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Wayne says the moral conflict: if the dead god is death and death is needed, which PC will eventually take its place as they find that this is necessary, effectively killing your PC to save the campaign. Ooh, ooh, me likes that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I mean, you know, eventually, like the player characters might have to take over the role, and that's how the cycle continues. That'd be kind of cool. Like the when the gods die, automatically someone or some people or entities or groups or enclaves have to take over the role, even if temporary. Yeah, it's kind of what happens in the Secret Wars, where the dude convinces the Beyonder to kill off Death, and then realizes it's needed, so he sacrifices himself, having the Beyonder kill him, and thus he becomes the new Death. Yeah, that was that's that's you're a person of a certain age. If you read that series when it was new, I gotta give it to you. I gotta give it to you because I remember the Beyonder was like Michael Jackson. It's so weird. If it's a high level campaign, they might continue to adventure with their friends, but now they have a job to do whenever they hit a new town. Yeah, yeah. You know what? In a way, that actually is really good for that's really good for um a high level campaign because it's not about like it may go beyond just death and destruction and killing the bad guy. Maybe they're the thing is they have to go into town and find souls and you know um nicely have the people move on to another world. I know you guys know this. Those of us of a certain age remember Dungeons and Dragons and the alignment system, and the alignment, let's see if I can find let's look for um and for those who don't know, the outer planes, and those who love Planescape, the outer planes had names, and those names corresponded to the alignment tree. Um, alignment, um, planes, D&D, and let's get some images here. Let's see, and see if I can call one up. If that's pretty. Anyway, there was alignment tree, and what was known, let's get a classic one. There we go. Okay, and let's see if I could. Can I share? Nope, I'm going to have to stop sharing and then reshare because it won't let me go over. Boom, 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 boom. Bring this up here. Um, Over here to the side of me, and let's do this if it get it a little bit bigger. You can't see the words, but anyway, in the middle was the concordant opposition, or where Sigil is today, and then starting at the very top was Elysium, and then at the very bottom was Hades. So you had lawful good at the top, and then Nirvana was, I believe, neutral good, and Limbo was chaotic neutral or something. Anyway, it went around, and they all had different names like Happy Hunting Grounds, Olympus, Glad, Gladshine, Limbo, Pandemonium, Abyss, Tartarus, Hades, Gehenna, Nine Hells, Acheron, Nirvana, Arcadia, the Seven Heavens, and the Twin Paradises. And the when your character, the idea, the supposition was whatever alignment your character was when you died, you would go to the alignment of your character that you mostly aligned with. And in Planescape, you could actually go to, there we go. In Planescape, you could actually go to those alignment planes, which is why there's the lower planes of the Abyss and Gehenna and the Nine Hells and such, and go there and get your friend back and adventure in those places. It was kind of cool. Pathfinder First E, creating an OGC Great Wheel setting for Pathfinder and World Tabletop News. When was this? Plane of Benevolence, Mercy. Oh, it breaks down. So, for example, we have the plane of integrity. If I visit this, share this tab instead. There we. Oh shit. There we go. So if we start at lawful good, we have the seven heavens, and neutral good. Lawful is paradise. Nirvana is neutral good, and it goes on and on and on. Happy hunting grounds is neutral good uh with chaotic in it. Elysium's chaotic good. Hyperborea is chaotic neutral with some good in it. Corrupting chaos, and so on and so forth. Discordia, perdition, nether, Sheol, purgatory, Kunlun, Avalon. Hmm. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, we're going to have to get out of here. Franco Venetti says, "Haven't seen that graph in a minute." Yeah, yeah. The original one I put up. Yeah, it's pretty. It's like that's old school, old school. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, TA's talking about the new universe. Stop reading some time before the new universe series completed, so I had no idea it had even reached completion. Wow, wow. I think shortly after the graphic novel The Pit was when I got out of reading. Wow, you're old school. Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I remember The Pit, and Max, and a bunch of these other ones. Yeah, Elon is working on a neural implant thing. He feels that having a neural connection to AI would be better for humanity instead of being external, it'd be internal. Yeah, I was never careful with my books. I got grape juice stains on them and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're going to go too late and going beyond this. We'll get into some exploration parts. You guys know I love third pillar Thursdays, third pillar exploration Thursdays. We'll get into some of the physical aspects of navigating a dead god, things like that. So thank you, uh, Mr. or Vanetti. I really appreciate you being here, and everybody else. Guys, I got to get out of here. Got to get out of this place. Don't know when I'll ever get back. Um, do the usuals. Got to ask. I don't. I almost never do this. Please like, share, subscribe. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Do all the bullshit. But more importantly, have a great day, and thanks for spending your valuable time here. I really appreciate it. Anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow as we continue our talks about exploring dead and forgotten gods. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.